Okay, we are officially recording. Thank you everybody for coming and wanting to learn about the new superintendent evaluation tool that we have been working on. And I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started with the presentation. Those of you from Nogales, you've seen a lot of this. So if there's anything that I have forgotten to add that we talked about when I was with you a few weeks ago, please let me know and you can help me with that. So ASBA and the Arizona School oh, did I share my screen? Doesn't look like I did. Oh no, I am sharing it.
Yes.
Can you guys see it? Okay. Whew. All right. I'm going to start this over. ASBA and the Arizona School Administrators partnered together to create a superintendent evaluation tool. And when we were doing so, we really had this idea, this concept in our mind that was really well spelled out, very well spelled out in this quote that I got from AASA's white paper on superintendent evaluation. And no matter the specific position, evaluating needs are basic. The need for thoughtful, thorough, and fair evaluation based on performance and designed to encourage improvement in both the person being evaluated and the school district. So that was kind of our guiding light through this whole process, just making sure that we were always keeping in mind what the goal of it was, which is the goal of school boards and superintendents, which is student success. So staying true to that as we were going through the whole process. The work group that we put together to do this, led by the executive directors from both ASBA and ASA, were school board members and superintendents from across Arizona. So you can see that we have elementary school districts, union high school districts, unified districts. We have a CTED district. We also had a transportation district represented. We have rural, we have remote, we have suburban, and we have urban. So we really kind of have everybody in there and wanted to make sure that we had a lot of diversity in this group, both of size of district, but also impact of district and who is involved. So, and I'm sorry, I didn't warn anybody. I don't know if you can hear people yelling in the background, but they don't know I'm doing this in the office. So they're out there having fun. Sorry if you can hear that. But we're really excited about the diversity of the people that we got to work on this. The work group started in the fall. In about November, came together numerous times over the last 6 months or so, and really put together what we think is a great tool. And we'll be talking specifically about the tool today and about the pilot that we'll be starting shortly. So some of the things that we started with, we wanted to create some beliefs and assumptions, and we started with that, I mean, it's the law, right? We have to do this. So we can't delegate this. There's lots of things that we can delegate as board members, but we have to evaluate the superintendent yearly. It's written in Arizona's revised statutes. We wanted the tool to contain the generic duties of a superintendent, no matter where you are in the state, what size district you're in. And after the pilot, allow districts to customize the tool to meet the needs of their district. So there may be things that you add to the tool once it's your own tool. The creation of it should be collaborative, and it was very much collaborative with superintendents and board members. And it really does include the insights and feedback of all those people who were on that work group. The evaluation is an accountability tool. At the end of the day, that's what it is, and that's what it's needed to be. But it also needs to fit the needs of the superintendent. It also needs to have what the superintendent needs to be successful as well. So professional growth, student success, you'll hear that a lot through our time together. One of the things that we realized is the vast majority of governing board members really don't have any training in doing performance evaluations. Unless you do that professionally, you probably don't know what that process is like. So we wanted to provide training with the tool because we think that's critically important, especially for this pilot program. Everything that happens is free. There's no charge for training. You'll be asked to participate in training if you decide to go ahead with the pilot. The unique thing about superintendents is they're really the only employee who 5 people evaluate that becomes one evaluation, one consensus evaluation. So it's a tough process. The process should be manageable for both the superintendent and the board. We didn't want to make it too cumbersome, but we also we wanted to make it rigorous and comprehensive because we think that's an important piece. And it's not a tool that should be used for punishment. What we really want it to be used for is improvement. And kind of, we often use that, use data as a flashlight, not a hammer. And that's what we would also say about this tool. Let's use this as a flashlight, not a hammer. So the way forward that we want to be talking about. So I'm going to go through the components of the tool, and you'll get to see some examples of the actual tool as we go through here. But we do include in this tool goals for the superintendent. And that is something that we felt was important, looking at what's the district strategic plan, what are the goals that your strategic goals for the coming year, and those should be considered when you're looking at the superintendent's goals. It also includes, the tool includes an area for the superintendent goals to be linked to the specific domain standards and indicators that are in the evaluation tool. And you'll see that as we go forward here. So we also want to make sure that boards and superintendents are thinking about SMART goals. You know, it's this specific, measurable, attainable, right? Lofty, but realistic, relevant, and time-bound. So not a lot of nebulous goals, but rather goals that have structure to them so that so the board can actually see whether it's been accomplished or not. And there's lots of reasons that a superintendent's goals might not be accomplished. You know, COVID, for one, that was a whole big thing that threw a wrench in probably every superintendent's evaluation goals this year. Whatever goals you had before the start of the year definitely changed as we progressed through the school year. So those are things to talk about and think about as well. So this is a snapshot of what the goal areas look like. And you can see that we have an opportunity for superintendents to identify the domain, standard, and indicator that each of the goals relates to, which we thought was really an important part, because sometimes it's hard for board members to know, well, that's a good goal, but how does it relate to this tool that I have to fill out, to this, you know, kind of quantitative tool that I have to complete. So we thought that was really important. And you can obviously have as many goals as you want. We've had 3 down, but certainly there can be more if that's something that a superintendent and board is interested in doing. So the way the tool is set up is there are 6 overarching domains in the tool, and they represent kind of the buckets of the superintendent's job responsibilities. Then in each of those domains, there are a number of standards that describe the components of that bucket. And finally, we have performance indicators under each of the standards that also represent the various components of the standard and the domain. So we tried to make this as easy as possible, and you'll be able to see the actual tool and see what it looks like. So the domains that we came up with are leadership and district culture, instructional leadership, organizational management, equity, diversity, and inclusion, communications and community relations, and board governance and policy. And we looked at a lot of evaluation tools from all over the country. And some of them had 20 different domains and some of them had 2. So we wanted to not go too far into that, like so many domains that it seems unmanageable, but we wanted to have domains that actually describe the superintendent's job. So these are the 6 that we came up with. And again, this pilot period is really, we're very excited to be able to have school boards and superintendents provide feedback to us during this first pilot year of using the tool, because we want to improve it. We want it to be what boards need and what superintendents need. So real excited about that opportunity for us and for you. So I'm going to look at each of the domains now, and then we'll talk about the standards under each domain. So the first standard for the first domain is leadership and district culture. And there are 4 standards under that domain: ethics and professional norms, mission, vision, values, district culture, and innovation. So those are kind of the 4 smaller bucket areas that are part of the overall overarching leadership and district culture. And I'll show you one of the, so this is the standard ethics and professional norms. In that standard, we have 2 indicators, and you can see those on the screen. For each of these, there's a domain statement so that you understand what this domain is supposed to accomplish, what the goal of it is. And then each standard has a standard statement so that you can understand before you even start the tool of what the expectation is of the superintendent. And in the upper right-hand corner, you can see there's a percentage. So what we decided was we want school boards and superintendents to be able to decide where their focus is. And some years it might be on a different domain. Maybe one year you're really focused on communications, and so you might give domain 5, communications and community relations, a higher percentage for that year than the other domains. So it's just another way to customize the tool so that it meets the needs of the district, the superintendent, and the board. And you'll see the rankings that we have are highly effective, effective, developing, and ineffective. So that's a lot of our teacher evaluation systems. Those are the rankings that they have as well. And so we wanted to keep some similarity between those. You will notice that we only have 4. We took out that, a lot of times you have 5 rankings. We took that middle ranking out because we wanted it. The committee felt strongly that we wanted board members to decide what it was. So instead of riding the middle, which is sometimes easy to do, we wanted everyone to really give some thought to it. So, and also, if you have questions during this, please just turn your mic on and ask me, or we can wait until the end too. So we'll have a lot of time at the end to discuss this. So.
Julie, I have a question for you. I'd like to ask while I'm thinking about it. So your choice is highly effective, effective, developing, and ineffective. Mm-hmm. It makes me think about what you were saying about the pandemic and how that impacted perhaps the superintendent's ability to be able to perform in certain areas, which is not, I wouldn't be able to describe that necessarily as any of those. Like, I wonder if it, because of what's happened in the past year or so, if another category is needed to capture that. I mean, I feel like it would be for me because I wouldn't know what to check there.
Yeah, and there is some conversation. These are the kinds of things that we want this pilot to bring out. Not observed is something that you also see somewhat frequently on performance evaluations. The work group thought, let's leave that off for now and see if it's something that board members think they actually need as we go forward. So again, this is a way, to kind of tighten this up and make it better. And I appreciate that thought, Wanda. And I think it's something that we may have to incorporate as the tool becomes a more permanent until we have a final document. But thank you for that. Okay, so let's go to domain 2, and this is instructional leadership. So this includes curriculum planning and development, instruction and assessment, and then staff professional development. So these are the 3 standards that we came up with under instructional leadership. And you'll see curriculum planning development, there's 4 indicators under that. There's anywhere from 2 to 6 indicators depending on the standard and the responsibilities of the superintendent. So you can see here, this one has 4 different indicators. The other thing that I didn't mention or point out earlier was this supporting data and documents is a place where you could, the superintendent could provide links or give you, names of reports, whatever they're bringing forward for you to see as you're doing this. The goal related, this allows you for them to say, okay, yeah, this is related to one of my goals. And then performance pay, depending on what your performance pay looks like in your district, there's an opportunity for you to indicate that on this document as well. The other thing that I should mention is that each of the domains has a section at the bottom for comments from both the board and the superintendent. So that's where you could kind of talk about, wasn't able to observe this. This was a year that was too, chaotic for us to be able to see some of these things. It was really just about, keeping ahead of everything that was going on. So there will be an opportunity in the tool to share comments by both the superintendent and the board members. Okay, the third domain is organizational management. This is a big one. This is the finance, operations, and human resources. So lots of components to this. And you can see in the fiscal part, there are 5 indicators in this particular standard. So again, lots of information, lots of things that both superintendents and board members thought were the responsibility of superintendents. So we are excited about this. And I, in particular, really like indicator 5, because I do think it's important for the superintendent to be able to interpret and articulate budgets and finances to the board, staff, and community, so that there's understanding of what a school district budget looks like, what it can be, what it can't be, and really helping people understand that piece of the financial responsibility that superintendents have. Okay, so our next domain is equity, diversity, and inclusion. And this is about the community of care, supportive students, and systemic inclusive practices. So what we're really talking about here, and this is the standard community of care and supportive students, 3 indicators here really talking about, having a safe, caring, healthy environment in your schools, being respectful, and interacting with people effectively in ways that acknowledges and affirms their experiences. And then the idea that the superintendent helps staff, models for staff, and sets an expectation that each student is an individual, and you will respect and think about that as you're interacting with them. Any questions about that one? Okay, let me keep going. Standard 5 or domain 5 is communications and community relations. And this is internal and external communication, family engagement and support, and community engagement. So we broke up that family engagement and support and community engagement in this one because we thought it was really important for us to think more specifically about how we were engaging the adults in kids' lives, and how we were using those adults to help students be successful. So this is the standard internal and external communications. There's 3 indicators, 2 really about how you communicate, and who you're communicating with. And then the third indicator is about advocacy at the local, state, and federal levels, and looking at the needs of students, priorities of students, and advocating for those. So that is domain 5. And then domain 6 is board governance and policy. So this is that piece that we're looking at: board relations, policy development and implementation, and then strategic goals. And here is one of those. The board relations standard has 6 indicators. And we tried really hard to not have 6 because that's a lot, but we thought this really encompassed the superintendent's responsibility in terms of the board. So we have that. So, and we're going to have a lot of time to talk, but next steps. The pilot program, technically starts tomorrow, July 1st, through June 30th of 2022. And if you would like to become a pilot district, we will have virtual trainings from mid-August to mid-September that we would want boards to attend as a team with their superintendent, so that everyone is hearing the same thing at the same time. And you can have conversations about the training since you were all listening to the same thing. And obviously you don't all have to be together in a room to do it. We're going to be doing it virtually, so you can do it from home. But we will stream those live on YouTube, because if all board members are there, it's really an open meeting. So we will give you the ability to give access to the public during that. Then we want you to use the tool. We will provide that. Again, the initial training is free. Any kind of feedback, help, consultation you need with me from ASBA or one of the superintendents from the work group, we'll give you access to that if there are questions, either from board members or superintendents. So we'll have a couple of experts that you can consult with throughout the pilot timeframe. And then we want you to really give us robust and comprehensive feedback on the tool. And for me, that's the most important part. Doing this has been a lot of work, but if it's not a good tool, I don't want it to go out. I want to hear what board members and superintendents think of it. And then we'll do some redoing, redrafting, and get a tool hopefully that the majority of people feel comfortable with. And we'll release that to board members and superintendents and districts starting July 1st of 2022. So that is really all I have, but I'm happy to answer questions. If there's anything you want to see again, let me know.
Julie, just 2 comments.
Yes.
When we finish the evaluation process of the superintendent, do we all get together as a board and talk about it and come up with one evaluation, or do we present the superintendent with 5 evaluations? And my second question is on domain 3. Would it be appropriate on domain 3 to use the Auditor General's report that gives us how a school district is doing in their cost of meals and the cost of transportation and the cost of square footage, things like that? Could we use that report?
So to answer the first question, is the superintendent has one boss, right? That's the 5 board members in a public meeting. So there is one consensus document that should come out of the evaluation process. So it doesn't mean that you can't incorporate some of the comments and thoughts of each of the board members. It just means it has to be on one document. So that's what the superintendent has. And as for the Auditor General's report, there are many things that you could use as evidence. And that's a good one. Marcy, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I am currently making a list of data points that superintendents and board members can look at as they're doing this tool. And we're currently also in the process of putting together a handbook that will come with the tool. And that'll have a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, in particular that list of evidence and documentation that superintendents could use during the process.
Okay. Thank you, Julie. That was very helpful.
Thank you. It looks like Wanda said she'd love to see a measurable goal in the equity section. For example, discipline suspension rates, academic progress, access to accelerated programs. And so that's what you can use the tool as a basis for what you want the superintendent's goals to be. So, that could very easily be a goal that the board and superintendent come up with. So we hope that the tool will actually give you some thoughts on good goals for the superintendent in the year. Thanks for that question. So the next question was, is there anything we need to do to become a pilot district? Yes, just tell me you want to be a pilot district, and then I'll keep you included on all of the communication. We're in the final stages of the tool, the editing of the tool. So when you attend the training, depending on what training you attend, we'll provide the information to the district so that every board member can have access to the actual tool, the evaluation handbook, and we'll get all that out to you prior to the training that we'll ask you to attend.
Hey, Julie, this is Kevin. On item 4 for these next steps, what type of frequency of interaction do you envision? I know you mentioned a couple initial trainings, and then are we kind of on our own until we circle up, or how often do you think we'll check in?
We don't really have a schedule for that. I think we'll do, these initial trainings and probably a check-in either at the end of the calendar year or the beginning of the new calendar year, just to see where it's going. What we will recommend is that there's not just one evaluation, but that there are check-ins, at least one other check-in, like a half year check-in with the superintendent and the board on the goals on the tool. And so, but what we will be is completely available if districts have questions. So if it's just a random Monday and someone has a question, that's what we're going to be here to help you with. So I don't really have a schedule for check-ins, but we'll probably do something end of the end of the calendar year, beginning of the next calendar year for sure, just to check in and see how it's going.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin.
Julie, this is Bob Galena.
Hey, Bob.
I have a question. How many total performance indicators and all of the standards and all of the domains are there?
I think there's around 65, somewhere in that vicinity. So there are a lot, and it does seem like a lot, but I think if you look at the tool, you'll see that really it just encompasses the incredibly huge job that a superintendent has, and the difficult job that they have. So it's around there.
Okay. And just to follow up, when you were going through the slides, there was a percentage in the upper right corner. That would be the percentage of that domain out of 100% when you evaluate the superintendent.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we just wanted to give districts flexibility in that. The other thing that, we know that this might not hit all of the things that districts want to hit. So when we're done with the pilot, we're more than happy for you to add indicators if you think you want to. We do think that the indicators that are there are really truly the baseline indicators for a superintendent's job. So we wouldn't recommend removing any. But if there's something that the district wants to customize, then you're more than willing to do that. You're more than welcome to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Anybody else? Okay, you folks from Nogales, did I miss anything?
No, Julie, it was perfect. It was a great overview like you gave us, and we're on board and ready to go. And you know, Julie, that we voted as a board that we are going to participate.
Okay, great, great. Thank you for letting me know. Anybody else? Any other questions? Thoughts?
Yeah, I have one more.
Yeah.
Training that you talked about that will take place from was it August to mid-September? How do we go about scheduling that with you?
Yeah, well, what we'll do is we'll send, I'll send it, we'll have registration for it, just like we do, you know, our other events. And we'll get it out to everyone to sign up for stuff. So the one suggestion that was made on Monday when we did another one of these information sessions was looking at having an in-person training at law conference instead of doing them just all virtually. So I'm still waiting to hear back from that committee that's planning that to see if we would even be able to do that. It would be probably the day before law conference started, but that way, you know, if everyone's coming to law conference, it might be nice to be able to have some conversation in a room around the tool and everyone hearing those questions, you know, when we're all together in person, finally.
Hi, Julie. This is Ana Samaniego from Douglas. Is there a timeline, a limit of by when we have to notify you that would be like to become a pilot district?
Yeah,
tomorrow?
I mean,
is it July 1?
It's not tomorrow. No, okay. We're gonna let you. We're gonna let people join as they want to. I mean, okay. Probably not gonna let you join next May because
relatively sooner than later.
Yeah, but this first semester, especially of school, you know, I think we'll be taking people and helping them. We'll probably record a couple of the trainings so that you know you can watch it. If you don't decide until September, then we can get that out to you so you can watch it together as a board. But there's a lot going on in the, you know, on Monday when we did this training, one board member said to me, please don't make the training in July. That's my vacation. That's the only time I'm not, you know, doing stuff. So, so we heard that and we heard it from a couple of other people. So we'll move it a little bit later. And then we'll let people come on as they need to.
And Julie, one more question. Will you be sending us this PowerPoint?
I can send the PowerPoint.
Okay. Absolutely. You can share it, please. Thanks.
Yep. I will send it to everyone. Thank you, Myra. She said, I don't think you missed anything. It's good. Thank you. Yeah, so we're really excited about it. If you have other questions or if any of the superintendents on the call want to, you know, have a conversation with one of the superintendents who was part of the work group, I'm happy to connect you with anyone who was on there. I mean, you saw those folks. Yeah, I'll go back to that slide so you can see who those people were. And board members, if you want to connect with any of those folks, feel free. So there's a list of everyone that was part of the work group. And if you need connection with them, let me know.
Julie, will we find out what districts are participating in this pilot project?
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. I can tell you that the school district where I'm a board member is going to be participating. So I'm excited about that. Although I get to hear from people that I really know what they don't like, which is a little bit harder to take, but I'll just have to put on my big girl pants.
Julie, I just want to say thank you for this. This is going to be great. It's going to be really helpful to kind of have like a tool to follow instead of us just trying to make it up as we go. So I really appreciate this and I'm looking forward to participate. So just if you can send out, what are you going to send out something for us to respond to be part of?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yep. That'd be great because we really want to participate.
Great. Good. Thanks, Dina.
Thank you.
We're excited that, you know, so many districts don't really have a formal process at the moment. And so being able to provide this is something that both ASA and ASBA are very excited about.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to give you another little bit. If there's no other questions, we'll get out of here early. Okay, I'm going to let you go. Thanks everybody for being here. I'll send you the PowerPoint, and more information is forthcoming.
Julie.
Bye.
Thanks, Julie.
¿Quién puso?